Yeah, so I have just a couple things to go through, and then obviously I'll open up for questions. But this is an exciting week for us. It's our team commitment week before we head into spring ball next week. It's an exciting week for me personally. This Saturday they have committed students day. My son Bryant coming to Nebraska in the fall, so the sacrifice he's made a little apart from us for a year. Really excited to get him back and bring all the other prospective Huskers as they come. Excited for that, just like a family. Obviously, last week, really sad to see Trev and Angie go. More than just a great boss, I consider Trev a friend. He'll be a friend of mine forever. Angie, the way she reached out to Julie and has taken care of my family, I just think they're just class people. And I wish them the best. This business is hard. People move from job to job. You build relationships, but just really grateful for them and sad to see them go. In the aftermath of that, just been overwhelmed by the amount of people who have really stepped up. Chris Kaborik serving in the interim president role, immediately just connecting with me and I'm sure with many other of the coaches. And I've only got to know Chris for a short amount of time. But just been really surprised, not surprised, but pleased with just his level of professionalism and how quickly he's responded to me. Grateful for Governor Pillen, his leadership at a time like this, reaching out. It's obviously difficult when you come here and the president leaves and the football coach leaves, but knowing at the top of the state, nothing political, just at the end of the day, we have a Husker. That's meant a lot to me personally, and really excited for Dennis LeBlanc. Dennis is what's great about college athletics. He cares about the student. This is one of those jobs when you work in college athletics where you can work a ton of hours or a few hours, and Dennis works a ton of hours because he cares about young people. He saved a lot of young people's lives, and so I trust him, and he's done an amazing job for us as our sport administrator, and excited to see him. And then just anytime Tom Osborne calls you or all the different donors and fans reached out, just really appreciative of everybody. To what could be seen as a tough time, but I think this is a tremendous opportunity. Everyone's going to wonder why Trev left, and that's his story to tell. I don't know why. I know he was very forthcoming with me and very forthright with me, and I have no complaints about the way he handled anything, at least with me. So very grateful for him. This is an opportunity for us to look at everything within our athletic department, everything within maybe even our university, and how can we be better? Because this is an amazing place, and I started off by talking about my son being here. I would not send my son here if I didn't think it was an amazing place. My wife's opening a business down in South. We would not invest our money, our futures in a place that we did not believe in. We love the state of Nebraska. We love Lincoln. We love Omaha. We love everyone, everywhere that we've been and everyone that we've met. And I just think sometimes we forget some of those things. We forget how great a place this is to raise kids. And we forget how great a place this is to live and to work and to be around. And so, yeah, while it is a tough time losing someone of Trev's caliber, all I'll say is I believe we put 15 years in here in athletic administration. And from everything I see in our athletic department, this is a well-run athletic, and this is a good place. And I know he's allowed me to do the things I think are necessary. So he's left the place better than he's found it. And so I think it's an unbelievable opportunity for us to move forward. And the one thing Trev would always say to me is, I think he took this really seriously as the Husker that he is. He said to me, I'm only standing in this position as the athletic director at Nebraska. You're only standing in the position you're in because of the decisions that coaches like Tom Osborne and administrators made 20 years ago. To put us in this position where we're financially stable, we're secure, we have elite facilities, we have tremendous commitment. And the onus on Trev, now the next AD, the onus on me and the coaches and leadership here is to make sure that 20 years from now we look back and we say, the people that guarded this place during this time were tremendous stewards of the university. And I think that's really, really important. You can't take a step backwards. We have to take a step forwards. And the thing that I'll say is we have to be unabashed in our desire to be the best. Like, we cannot worry about optics. We cannot worry about what people say. The way you win in college athletics today is you invest. And I can't think of a state that knows that better than this amazing state, whether it's all the amazing financial institutions, people all across the world, try to read about the people in Omaha, and Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway. I mean, you don't get a return until you've invested. All the agriculture across our state, you don't get a harvest unless you've invested, unless you've sowed seed and watered it. And so, whether it's salaries, whether it's facilities, whether it's upgrades, whatever it is, we need to return to the days where everybody across the country is coming to the University of Nebraska to see how things are moving. I called Kirby Smart last week and asked him if I could come down and visit Georgia. We sent our performance nutrition people down to see Florida and Alabama. I want people coming here. When Julie was the head dietitian at Temple, she was putting together a training team. She studied Nebraska. And so that to me is the place that we're at. And, I usually don't read a lot, but I've been reading, kind of hearing what people are saying. And we don't have major problems. We have an unbelievable athletic department. We have an unbelievable opportunity. But we must have vision for the future for 20 years from now. And that's what Trev had. Make no mistake. Trev spent the last year trying to tell everybody, hey, guys, revenue sharing is coming. Like, we have to have a plan for revenue sharing. And $20 million is probably going to be going to the athletes at some point here. I don't know if anyone really listened. I don't know if I really listened. All of a sudden, now those lawsuits are starting to come to fruition, and it's like, oh, what, Trev was right. And so we're going to have to do, think of things differently. And so as he now leaves and as he transitions, that's what has to happen here. We have to have amazing leadership that is saying to themselves, hey, what's the next 20 years going to be like? And how do we make sure that the University of Nebraska athletics is relevant in all of that? And that doesn't preclude the university, right? It's such a hard time in college athletics because college athletics is big business. And if you look at the business, the University of Nebraska athletics is one of the best businesses in college athletics. It has the least debt. We don't take student fees. We don't take money from the university, where most schools, even in our conference, are doing that. So we have a tremendous financial model. I think we have to have a ton of vision moving forward to get to that. So I don't think the issues that maybe everyone's thinking are out there. I don't know if they're out there. I don't think that they're out there. I think that we're just on the precipice of a really, really important time to get the right leadership in here who's not worried about making tough decisions, who's not worried about investing, who's not worried about, man, what are people going to say if we hire a few more people? Like, this is the time. And it's not just about who we hire, it's about who we retain. We have to retain that leadership. We have to retain our student athletes. We have to be the model of that across the country, because that's what Tom Osborne and that's what Bob Devaney and that's what they built the best player development university in the country. And you can't develop people if you don't retain them. So that to me is the place where we're at. I'm just so grateful for Trev and Angie, but I'm also really excited about the future and grateful for Governor Bill and Chris Kaborik and everybody else that's reached out to us at this time. So I think when you look at our university right now and you start talking about, hey, are we relevant? Obviously, we're always going to be relevant here. But I'm really grateful for our winter sports and how relevant they're making us across the country. Because when I fly to Miami to recruit, everyone's not only just talking about Nebraska, they're talking about Alabama and Georgia and Texas A&M and Texas and Miami. And so when you have your men's team doing what they did, when you have your women's team doing what they're doing, when you have a wrestling team doing what they're doing, it makes us relevant and it makes us part of the conversation. And on a personal note, the relationship I have with Mark Manning, the trust to work together with Nash Etlander has been unbelievable. As a proud girl dad, of two daughters, 11 and 8, how many games we've been able to go watch, and I'm out there in the driveway, and I'm throwing him the ball, and I'm saying, like, Jazz Shelley is the owner. Markowski backs it down as Vivi takes him down and backs me down. I mean, for them to have role models like that, like a women's volleyball team, women's tennis team, just amazing. Not just the winning, but the amazing experiences. I mean, watching us go toe to toe with Iowa at home, and watching Jazz Shelley get up and make 4 free throws with the game on the line, and being able to talk to my daughters about that afterwards. Just amazing moments that are awesome to be a part of, but also relevant nationally. And then to watch our men's team, to To think about how much joy, Keisei Tominaga has brought in just my family in the last year. To think about how hard Josiah Alec was. To think about, the pain and passion on Juwan Gary's face the other night. To think about, Sam Hoiberg out there diving for balls. I just think it's an amazing time. And so I want to spend today talking, obviously, I know you guys asked me about Trev and the future of that, but there's so much that's right. There's so much that's good. And, I've gotten kind of frustrated in the last couple of days as national people called me and, hey, what's your contract situation like? Well, I'm here, and I'm all in. And Julie's all in. And I loved Ted Carter, I love Trev, and I came because of them, but I came to be at the University of Nebraska, and I've loved the people that I've met, and we're not going anywhere unless you guys kick us out. And so I just want to make sure that I spend my time talking about everything that is right, and the last part of that is our team. This team has come so far in these 8 weeks. I mean, the problems that existed last year aren't the problems now. And the team's adjusting to me because I'm becoming a different Coach Rhule. We're getting a different Tony White now because we're going to give our players the gift of high expectations. We snuck up maybe on people sometimes this year, like, the Huskers. Well, they're going to be ready for us next year. They're going to be ready for the 3-3-5. They're going to be ready for, the players that we have. And so we are pushing them and driving them. And what I love is they're accepting it and they're sprinting and they're running and they're working. And this is going to be unbelievably competitive spring ball. If we've done one thing well, we've put a lot of talent on the roster. And I'm really, really proud of them. And I don't tell them that very often. I'm not a fuzzy, feely type of a coach. So it's important that they hear it. I'm proud of them. And the thing that separates the good from the great, in I believe, in today's generation, is their ability to handle frustration. Think about when we were young and there was nothing to do, and parents would let us watch TV. We'd go do something, right? Our kids, they're on an iPad nowadays. They're on their phone. They're doing something, and there's just not a lot of frustration in their everyday lives. And so, can we handle frustration? Can we handle it when our coach is really getting on our nerves? Can we handle it when the stakes are high? Can we handle it when we have to do something we really don't want to do? The team keeps answering that yes, yes, yes. So we're going to push them like crazy in a spring ball and see where we end up. And that was long. Forgive me, but hopefully there's something good there.
Coach, how did you find out?
He called me. Yeah, he called me. My son and I. We did our first ever father-son trip. He had his spring break. Was the same time as our spring break here. My daughter's spring break was different. So my son and I, we were actually playing golf, and Trevor called me. He had talked to me leading up to this. Trev's a good athletic director. He'd had many people come after him. So one thing he was always pretty transparent with me, and I wanted him to stay, but
were you surprised then?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I thought, I knew it was reality. I was probably caught a little bit like, oh wow, this actually happened. And obviously I was sad, because I really believed my work.
What kind of leader do you like to work with in that athletic department? That personality traits, things like that, not names, but just qualities.
Yeah, I really want somebody who has unbelievable urgency. This is like one of the most pivotal. We spend a lot of time talking about the transfer portal and NIL. This is one of the most pivotal times in college athletics, and we just need doers. You know what I mean? We need doers. We need people who just figure it out and work. And so, I love the fact in Trev that I had an athletic director that was here, at 7:00, 7:30 every morning in a suit and tie. He was a worker. Pat Kraft, I worked with at Temple's now at Penn State, was a worker. They were right there with you. So I think what we need is somebody that's going to come in and just get things done. And again, they have to be really mentally strong, because when you come to a place that has as big a brand as Nebraska that people are so passionate about, care about, when you do something, a lot of people are going to like it. Some people aren't going to like it. And if you're listening to the outside noise, you have no chance. So I'm just hoping that it's somebody that's a worker, a doer. And I also want someone, Sam, that's going to go fight. Okay, go fight in the committees in the NCAA. To go fight in the Big Ten. Like I could say, because I'm the football coach, I'm mad we're playing Texas A&M in both games, because now the games are about the AD league. It's not about our players. Our players deserve the games to be about us. And so, I think having somebody that's not going to just go quietly into the night. That's a doer. That's a work. I think that's what we need to really take what we have and get it on overdrive.
What's your level of investment in
the stadium project that Trev laid out last fall. How do you think that should proceed with the new boss?
I don't know that I'm smart enough or well versed enough to know it, right? I think when I heard Trev talk about it, to think that you have a 100-year-old building and probably needs some renovations makes total sense to me. Correct. I think when you know, I think when you don't have Wi-Fi so that you can't have a great experience in terms of concessions, that probably makes sense to me, right? I think when some of those things made sense to me. I think when you talk about some of the stuff that's going to come on in terms of revenue sharing and trying to make more money out of the building, it makes sense to me. But beyond that, it's probably too political for me to worry about. I've always been really smart about. I worry about the product that's on the field. Maybe I'm going to worry about what sideline I'm on. But other than that, leave that to the powers.
In all of that, you were mentioning about wanting people to come to Nebraska and look at what Nebraska is doing as a leader in all of these different spaces. You also last week tweeted a video along the lines of like that poem that's I just lost the name of it.
It's Paul Harvey. Yeah,
yes, Paul Harvey. Thank you. So is that sort of, I think, like even before all of this news came, that's clearly a vision that you have right now for this team and this program as you're getting ready for spring ball. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that poem, when we were trying to make the decision of whether to come here or not, that was the poem that kept surfacing. That video, it's actually the actual video for it's there's several versions, like a Ford Ram truck, and Sat was the OC at Clemson at the time, at South Carolina at the time, and they were getting ready to play Tennessee and Clemson, and he would just keep sending me that. God made a farmer. This is who we are. This is the place we're supposed to be. I might have been born in New York City, don't get me wrong, but this is the ethos. This is the type of football we want to play. This is who we are. And my wife, she was like this. So that poem that resonated with us. It's one of the reasons why we came here. And so when that moment came out, sometimes when you're at a loss for words, just sometimes I texted Jay Litt and said, "Hey, put some Husker stuff on this, please." And I love the clips that he used, and I put it out. And it's basically to say that I came here for a purpose. I didn't come here just for people. I've met amazing people, but I'm here for that reason, and I'm looking for players that are here for that reason. I want to build something. I want to leave something that I just want to be able to someday, like Coach Osborne, to walk back into the building and have people be happy to see me. I just want to I just want to be able to. Sometimes we go out to eat with my family, and we'll sit down, and I'm like, man, I hope we have to see you next year. But you know what? I just believe so much in the fans and the people of the state of Nebraska that even if they're disappointed when we lose a game or excited when we win a game, they've always treated myself and my family with such great dignity and respect. And so that was maybe just me saying, hey, we're all in. My team's all in. My coaches are all in. And we're all in doing it in a way that responds to the state.
How important is it for not just you, but other coaches to have feedback or in the athletic practice?
I'm grateful for feedback, but when I was the head coach at Temple University, I got on a plane. Bill Bradshaw hired me. I got on a plane to go out to the Fiesta Bowl Summit. I landed. He told me he had retired. The new AD came in named Kevin Clark, and he embraced me. He brought in a deputy named Pat Kraft, and Pat Kraft became my AD, and he's one of my best friends to this day. So I just believe in my life that through all the things I've been through, the right people have always shown up, and when they haven't, they haven't. So I'd love to have feedback. I love that, like I said, that Chris and Governor Pill at least reached out to me, and Coach Osborne reached out to me. So I'd love to have feedback. I'm sure Fred and Amy and Mark and all the coaches would love to have feedback. But people have to make decisions, and I'm sure we'll get someone that's excited to be.
Coach, you said that. I think it might have been your election. You said that in good time. And this follows time what we find out about the next month or so.
Yeah, well, I think organizations move forward or don't move forward based upon people's agendas. If everyone has, as Coach Osborne would say, unity of purpose. If everything's about, the University of Nebraska at Lincoln, University of Nebraska system, if everything's about Husker athletics, if it's about the student athletes, if it's about football, then you make the right decisions and you take the criticism that comes with it. You can disagree, but you disagree with an open mind. If there's agendas, if there's other things, then you can't move forward. And so I believe in the people because I've seen, since I've been here, I've seen people come together. It's maybe not always fast enough for me, but we've redone so many things and we've completely upgraded so many things. Obviously we're not completely into the Go Big project building yet, which my hope is that at some point it's named after Coach Osborne and his family legacy. And I think hopefully Trevor's moving towards that. But so not everything's happened yet. But I think that, like I said, this is a tremendous time. And when you lose, when one of your own leaves, when Trev leaves, everyone should stop and take pause and say, we know how much Trev loved this university. Hey, what's here? What do we need to come together about? I think those things, they don't need to happen on Twitter. They don't need to happen up here. They need to happen behind closed doors with people who care. Because you're going to be remembered based upon what you do in hard times. You're not going to be remembered by what you do in the really good times. I love the day by day movies. Hopefully everyone's seen those. I love the day by day movies, and you're watching the second one. You're going through, the second title run, the third title run, and you're watching the stress on Coach Osborne as the national media kind of coming after him, and you forget all that, right? Coach Osborne's always reminded me, like, hey, let me tell you about the tough times I had here. And everyone remembers the good times. I had a lot of tough times too, and so I think we'll see. I think we'll see Huskers come together, and we can all believe in different things, and then still come together for what's best for an institution that we love. And I think I'm committed to that. I don't need to get in my way. I just want everything to be as elite as possible. I want us to have unbelievable urgency. I want us to be the place that people visit. And I want us to invest in the best in this.
What are going to do things differently this spring to kind of bring about that sense of urgency with your players and the program?
It's a great question. I think getting them to embrace doing hard things and understanding that, getting them to understand that, like, hey, I went through a lot of hard things last year, doing hard things in the season. And I was proud of this. We lose to Maryland, we come back the next week, and a heartbreaker, we play to the whistle again. We play to the whistle again. So having them understand that, hey, we're strong enough and resilient enough to handle all that now. It's within our control to take another step. I think a big part of that is not just working, but we're going to have more competition and more competitive type play, because last year the roster was a little bit more like this. Like, we had really top-heavy, really good players here, and then a bunch of young players and new players. I think this year we have way more parity. And we have some guys in their 6th year that maybe they don't need to do a ton of spring football. They're coming off injuries. But we have a lot of really good young talent. And so I have to just do a lot more competition, because what I want to see is a team in the fourth quarter when the game comes down with 5 minutes left. It just makes one more play than we made last year. It's not this huge overhaul. It's just, hey, make one more play on offense, make one more play on defense. We beat Northwestern because we blocked their field goal and ran it back. Like, not because we did something crazy that week. And so playing and competition, I've been going and watching my daughters play a lot of sports, and they're just way more fun when they're playing 3-on-3 or they're playing knockout than when they're doing layup lines. And I know you need to do layup lines, but this generation likes to play, and so my guys, they like to go out there and compete and play. And so I'm going to do more of that this spring so that we get really comfortable playing. And, if you take our scholarship quarterbacks, we've got 2 freshmen, so they need a ton of reps. And so we will take more reps than we've ever taken before to get them ready and to get Heinrich ready to have a really strong quarterback.
How do you feel about how those freshman quarterbacks have fit in so far in the first couple of months, and the winter drills?
They've done a great job. You can see a fire and a competitiveness in Dylan. He wants to be at the top. He wants, he wants to. He's chomping at the bit. He's in there at 6 o'clock in the morning throwing balls before his lift. Lifts at 10:30, but he's in there at 6 throwing. You can see it with Danny. He comes in. He's working on football. I mean, they're both winners. They're both competitive guys, and so you can see it with Heinrich as an older player working. We talked a little bit about his elbow getting up and him working on that and taking time over spring break to work on that. So I've been really pleased. I've been pleased with their effort. Now they got to get to the football. And again, I talk back about being frustrated. It's that game you're playing quarterback in where just nothing seems to kind of go right? Like, where you just keep getting hit and they're fooling you with the coverages. And which quarterback gets kind of pissed off and attacks. I remember as a young coach at the Giants, and Eli Manning, he might have thrown 5 picks against the Buccaneers in the first half, 4 or 5. I can't remember what it was. He came back and threw for 500 yards and won. It was like you saw the competitive greatness in Eli. And so I think that's the next step for them. I've been really pleased, and I see a lot of that fire.
When you're setting up the spring ball schedule, you have this week and then officially, but you waited until after spring break. As you're talking about this competition, can you kind of talk through that decision to set it up the way that you have?
When I got here last year, the spring game was already set. Mm-hmm. And so then what happened afterwards was the spring game, we had a bunch of like dead time, and so I just said, well, why don't we maximize the amount of time? And there's benefits to having an earlier spring game. Some of it's started to have more time, but, over 50% of our roster being, registered freshmen or newcomers, we wanted as much time to lift, as much time. So we kind of just pushed the spring game back a week, so there's less dead time on the back end. I think the academic calendar is a little bit different this year. They get a good break after the spring games, and they'll come back till June 1st. So those are some reasons, just trying to get that done. Last year I was kind of caught up with when the portal was, and this year I was like, what, I'm going to coach the guys. So, and I just felt like, hey, a bunch of good weeks here would help us. And then it worked out, whether it was this week, spring break last week, and then this week. And so we've always done this team commitment week, and we divide into teams. We go to Twitter, and we have all kinds of competitions in the morning. We do team activities, voluntary team activities at night. And it's a chance for us. It's a chance for us to get to know each other, on a kind of smaller level, smaller teams within the team. So it's a fun week. So we'll start next week. But it was just kind of that reason of just trying to push things back so there's not as much dead time.
How did you feel about the win that came out of? You heard from me at the beginning of Matt Rhule's winter conditioning. So at the end of it, how did you feel about their commitment to that, the work that they put in, kind of some of the leadership qualities that you talked about in February that you were looking to see?
Yeah, I've been very pleased. I've been really pleased. A lot of guys are really good at competitions and working through things that they like. Like if you had a tug of war, Madden tournament, or 40-yard dash, they'll compete all day. Not everybody in life likes to compete at things we hate. We try to avoid the things we hate. So things like Matt drills, what's the point of them? It's making them compete at something they don't want. And what happened over the course of the weeks is, and we would change it up. We did things way different than we ever have. Your Isaac Giffords, your Marquise Bufords, your Malcolm Hartzogs, your Heinrichs, your Chief Borders, your Muquan Buckleys. These guys, and there's many more. But, these guys started to really, I think, get the guys to understand, hey, let's enjoy this and let's attack this. And if you can enjoy doing the things you don't like doing, or make yourself enjoy it, as the SEALs say, embrace the suck, you have a chance. And so I saw a lot of that. And next thing you know, you saw the Ja'Cory Barneys and the freshmen, the Keelan Smiths, and all them really started to attack. So I was really pleased with the leadership. I've been challenging the seniors. When you have a bunch of young players that come in, sometimes they have a tendency to like, hey, let's get these young guys right. What we need Tommy Hill to make a jump. And we need Ty Robinson to make a jump. And Bryce Benhart and Ben Scott, and Thomas Fedoni, and Nate Borgacher, Lukeland. We need all these older players to make a jump. The young players will follow. And I feel like they have. They have in terms of their leadership. And I think they will in spring ball if we do what I talked about earlier, make it really competitive.
As you reflect on, last season, how did you feel like your team's athletic profile went? And, how did you seek to improve it in the off season? And, you want the team to be faster, bigger, stronger all the time?
Yeah, I think we're always going to chase athleticism. We believe in athleticism. Jeremiah Charles was like the talk of the town here for a couple of weeks as he won the dunk contest. And, I just remember, I remember everything. I remember being asked, taking a guy with offers. And I'm like, just trust me. I went to a basketball game and I saw him. I'm watching Ishmael Smith-Flores and the other kid on the team. I watch him going to dunk and looking into the rim as he dunked. I said, cool, go watch him on your phone, bro. Coach Wager was with us at the time. I was like, he's a good player too. And we watched him getting heat here. He's running track. He's running the dunk contest. And he's going to be happy in the corner. So I think a lot of it's recruiting and it's development. Our players are very committed to the weight room, to the performance nutrition, to movement. So I like where we're at. I think we're always going to keep pushing it. So we try to recruit athletes. because eventually that speed shows up, that explosiveness shows up. But I think we had a really good year. If you looked at our team right now, I think you'd be really impressed with how they look. Like we look big, strong, and physical. We just have to continue that.
If you mentioned you like where the roster is talent-wise. Is there any areas in particular that you're struck by?
Yeah, I think what we have is ask me the question again. Any specific areas?
Specific areas of the roster where you're particularly impressed with talent.
I think overall we say this. I think what we have is we just have a breadth. Like we have just a ton of guys that I think are good players. Just a lot of them aren't established yet, and so can they go through that process? Like it's one thing to go in and play 10 plays. It's one thing to go in and be on the scout team. It's another thing to go out there when all the pressure's on the line. You know what I mean? And you're playing the UTEP receiver on 4th and goal with the game on the line. Like who can you go compete then? So I think we have a lot of just young talent with some little leadership. Just can we get them to turn over? I think I've always been pleased with the depth in our secondary. I'm pleased with the depth in the running back room. Some of those guys are still banged up, so spring ball. You might not see Gabe Irving. You might see him here a little bit, but not a ton. But there's some young players there that are going to get some reps. So there's a lot of guys I've seen them move. I've seen them do mat drills. I just haven't seen them play football yet, so I'm excited for that. But I think those are two areas where we've made some.
Did you have any scholarship departure guides before spring ball starts here? And secondly, have you ever had 23 newcomers come in at a semester like before? That is about as big of a number as you've seen. You got the transfers with freshmen.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest changes in college athletics. I remember when I first got back, talking to Dabo Sweeney, one of the head coaches meetings, him talking about their whole team was there in the winter. I think that really helps. You can see the development in guys. You see Grant Bricks walking around at 300 pounds. You're like, look how much mass he's put on. It changes a little bit. Changes a little bit how I think you have to approach the off season, because you have the freshmen from last year who had to deal with the Malachi Coleman's and the guys who weren't here in the spring. This is their first winter. Then you have the guys coming in their first winter. So there's a lot more maybe orientation than you're used to. There's a lot more trying to cross over and get the guys to know each other than you're used to. And there's a lot more getting people to understand the standards. Some guys, maybe at their last school they didn't make them go to class. Maybe at their last school they didn't make them go to lunch. Maybe at their last school, like when they're taking a water bottle and the student manager said here, they just take the water bottle, throw it on the ground, and the student manager goes over and picks it. We don't do that here. And so just sometimes you're not just doing that with young players coming in, because the new players come in, all they know is the Husker way. But having guys who've been other places understand that this is what we do here, just a little bit more orientation, a little bit more taking time, a little bit more counting on the older players. But the good news is we have a lot of talent, a lot of guys we can really, I think, amp up and get ready for the fall.
This week, what are you looking forward to for that group of guys getting ready to turn the page for the next phase of their careers?
Well, I'm excited for them. I think in that group you have some really, really good football players who can help themselves by running them. Quentin Newsom unfortunately hurt his shoulder there in the Maryland week. Didn't miss that game. I think he came back and played after that, so had to have off-season shoulder surgery. So his training isn't maybe where he wanted to be in terms of time. But Quentin's a tremendous competitor, and I think he can help himself. A lot of those guys can help themselves. I got a ton of good feedback from Omar Brown. I went down and saw him at the East-West NFLP, the one in Dallas. And so I think if he goes out and runs well, he'll really help himself. So I hope those guys, there's not many of them, hope they go out and they bust their tail. And we have guys like Phelan Sanford that I just believe teams should take a chance on and bring in. I think they'll have a chance to make a team. And so when they see Phelan run 4.38, 4.42, whatever he runs, open some eyes. So it's a good group of guys, and hope they do really well, and hope we run a 45 quarter.
I one more question. We spent so much time last year talking about the quarterback play. How much would better receiver play help the quarterback position, and how much better do you feel like you got in the offseason in a short amount of time with some of these transfers? Well,
yes, everyone. The way the quarterback plays well is everyone plays better. And when you go back and look at us play last year, okay, when we faced zone teams, we threw the football at a reasonable rate. When we faced either aggressive quarters, match teams that were physical with us, or man teams, we struggled. And so a lot of that is, a lot of guys we invested in early got hurt. Like Marcus Washington ran by the guy in Illinois, caught the ball on the sideline. And then he got hurt. Isaiah got hurt. Lemire got hurt, kind of as an option out runner out of the backfield. So I think now we have all those freshmen that we had to go put in the end of last year. We have more time on task with them. They're bigger, stronger. It's like I'm sitting there talking to, Jalen's running track, but like Jalen knows what this felt like to go out there against Michigan State and those guys. He's fast, so they're trying to grab him. And as he goes to practice now, I think he'll be better. So I think we're way better. I love what Jamal Banks has brought to us. He's a competitive guy. He's played a ton of football. You meet a lot of people in recruiting, and they tell you like, "Oh, this is what I'm about." And the portal's so different now. It's like I hear some college coaches. The reason why they like the portal is instead of recruiting someone for 2 years, they can recruit them for 2 weeks and get them. Well, you don't know anybody in 2 weeks. And I met Jamal. He was talking about his passions in life and things he wanted to do. And what I've really learned is that he's serious about it. He wants to have an impact on the world. He's a really cool guy that we should get to know. And he's a really good player. Nayor's got all the talent in the world. And I see those young players. They've played now. They have confidence. Demetrius Bell was. You ask anybody on our defense what Demetrius Bell was like on the scout team last year, they'll tell you. And so it'll be great to see him in the spring. So I think we'll be significantly better. But I think to really hone down on it, it's going to be our ability versus man-to-man teams. It's going to be our ability versus the aggressive quarters, grab you defenses you see in the Big Ten. And, you need Trey Palmer every once in a while to run through a safety like he did at Iowa and run by everybody, and that changes things. And we had a couple of those last year. I think Jalen had 350-plus touchdowns. So it's just, hey, Jalen takes a year to step forward. I think we'll have real competitiveness in the room. Thanks, everybody.